Hello everyone, my name is James Braithwaite, of course, and I'm here at Braithwaite Physiotherapy in Toronto. Today is going to be the first in a small series that we're going to do on tendinopathies. What's a tendinopathy, you might be wondering. You probably are not wondering that since you clicked on the video. You probably have some sense of what a tendinopathy is. But anyway, I'm going to talk about it. So a tendinopathy is a degeneration of a tendon that's been hanging around for a little while. So tendinitises are maybe the more recognized types of injuries. People know what a tendinitis is. It's an acute inflammation of a tendon, and of course a tendon is that leathery structure that connects a muscle belly to a bone. Tendinitis are super common. Tendinopathies, on the other hand, are tendinitises that have been hanging around for a long time. I personally consider tendinopathy to be an inflammation a degeneration of the tendon that's been hanging around for more than even a week, although a lot of people will say it's 6 weeks. Whatever, it's been hanging around for a while. If you've had a sore tendon for more than a month, chances are you're getting into tendinopathy type territory. So the tendon is degenerated, the tissue's a little bit ratty, and it's painful, but it's not necessarily acutely inflamed or swollen like a tendinitis is. And that inflammation, of course, is the body's healing response. Tendinopathy doesn't have that healing response anymore, so it's a bit of a pain in the butt, and that's why these things they end up being a little bit more chronic than we'd like them to be. So how do you manage it? Well, the research shows that out there are tons and tons of different interventions. You've got cortisone injections, extracorporeal shockwave therapy, acupuncture and dry needling, all types of manual therapies, exercise, of course. And happily, or sadly, I'm happy to report that the intervention that has the most evidence to support it is that exercise intervention, which is great because we know that it works. It's not so good because we know that it takes a lot of work for it to work as well. Exercise always does, but it does work. That's not to say that these other interventions don't have any evidence to support them as well. Some of them do, but by far the intervention with the most voluminous, let me give it a better adjective, with the best body of evidence to support its use is exercise. And to make that a little bit more robust, specifically we're talking about both biomechanics, your ability to control your body in good positions and movement patterns, and secondly, eccentric, heavy load strength training. So we're going to apply those two things, the biomechanical control and the eccentric strength training, to different areas where we tend to see tendinopathies popping up in the body. The first one we're going to pick is Achilles tendinitis. Super common. I see it a lot in basketball players. I think I saw in a research report in the last month that 50% of runners will experience this at some point in their lives. All kinds of different athletes see it. Football players, offensive linemen, pushing, right? We'll get, did you catch that? Did you catch my feet pushing? Probably dancers, I'm just guessing too, would experience that as well. Super common condition. So what would we be doing? With the biomechanics focus on an Achilles tendinopathy, we would be focusing on the basics of things that we've talked about in some of our running videos before. So think about in running that your feet are in parallel and in line, so you're not doing ducky style walking or running, right? You've got parallel feet, you're running on the balls of your feet, not like slapping down with a heavy heel strike. You're not valgusing at the knees, you're not pulling any of these types of things. And you're being efficient through your midsection, so you're not losing lots of energy through your midsection, through your hips, and of course, again, through the knees into those valgus type positions. So good running posture and form matters. I've done other videos on running posture and form that you can take a look at in the history of my videos. They're magnificent, trust me. When you're squatting, if you're doing a squat at the gym, you might be thinking about a lot of the same types of features. So you're getting down into your squat position. Your shoulders are over your knees or over your feet. You're not either back on your toes or back on your heels, and you're not forward on your toes. Your feet are in line and your center of mass is over your midfoot, which is the point just in front of your ankle here. So you should feel very stable. You should notice that your knees are over your feet. If I look down the skyline of my leg, I notice that my thigh and my foot are parallel. The line of my thigh and the line of my foot are parallel. Little cue that you can look at for yourself when you're getting down into your squat And again, my center of mass is focused over my midfoot. So biomechanics do matter. So walk, run, sit, squat with good mechanics. When we talk about strength training to help tendons be protected against tendinopathies, we are looking for those heavier loads. So that means you're thinking about repetitions in the 7 rep max range. So heavier than many people do. If you have questions about how heavy that should be, it's always good to speak with your trainer, or certainly speak with a qualified physiotherapist, much like myself. We can give you advice on that. The eccentric piece means that the tendon is lengthening as the muscle is contracting. So if I'm doing a biceps eccentric action, I'm contracting as the muscle gets longer. If I'm doing the same type of contraction at my Achilles tendon, or at my calf musculature that feeds into the Achilles tendon, I would be thinking like the downward phase of a squat, a backwards lunge like that. I would be thinking the downward phase of a heel drop, right? A heel drop like this, you can do that off a step. The downward phase, slow and controlled. But there has to be a heavy load as well as that eccentric component as well. And that's something that a lot of people are not necessarily used to applying to a tendon that doesn't feel right. If you're hurt, you often are thinking that, well, I want to be easy on this thing. The research is telling us it's got to be heavy load eccentric strength training, which is counterintuitive sometimes. If you do have questions about that, certainly can address them to someone like myself. I'd be happy to offer you some specific advice on that. What does the eccentric strength training do? Well, it certainly helps to encourage collagen turnover, and collagen is the main structural component of your tendons. So if you want that collagen turnover, the eccentric strength training will help to stimulate that. It will also stimulate the growth of the tendon, although that is a longer term thing. 3 months of eccentric strength training or more, we start to notice an increase in the cross-sectional area, the size of the tendon, and that certainly makes the tendon more resistant to injuries around stress and strain. So think about that as well. You want to grow the size of your tendon, and the heavy load eccentric strength training is a good way to do that. So think about those things. We've talked about biomechanics. We've talked about heavy load eccentric strength training. We've given you a couple exercises to think about surrounding your Achilles tendon. The next piece of tissue that we're going to look at is a plantar fascia for people with plantar fasciitis, and we'll be talking about doing some shoulder work as well for the various shoulder tendinopathies later on. So look for other videos coming forward in this short series that we're going to do on tendinopathies. If you have any questions, of course, don't hesitate to address them to me, James at YorkvillePhysiotherapy.com. Till then, treat your tendinopathies well and move beautifully.